The vulnerable population that I chose to research, write, and present on was military veterans. On the surface, many veterans may seem strong, tough, and disciplined. However, there are many underlying vulnerabilities that veterans face. I will discuss these in my presentation. One of the main reasons why I'm interested in this population is because my dad is a veteran. He was an officer in the U.S. Army for 23 years and recently retired about 2 years ago. These are pictures of our family when my dad returned home from his deployment to Iraq. I feel a special connection to this population because of the experience I had growing up as the daughter of an Army officer. To start off the presentation, I want to define who in the U.S. are considered veterans. The term veteran means a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service, and who was discharged or released from any of these branches under conditions that were other than dishonorable. The population of veterans in the U.S. is not distributed equally across states. The states with the lowest share of veterans are mostly on the coast: New York, New Jersey, California, and Massachusetts. The three most populous states in the U.S. have the three largest veteran populations: California, Texas, and Florida. These states are also home to some of America's largest military bases. Here are a few demographics about veterans in the U.S. In 2018, the median age of veterans in the U.S. was 65. About 1.7 million, or 9% of veterans, were women in 2018. The number of veterans in the United States declined by about a third between 2000 and 2018. Military veterans experience mental health and substance use disorders, post-traumatic stress, and traumatic brain injury at disproportionate rates compared to their civilian counterparts. These conditions and other compounding risk factors increase veterans' risks of homelessness and suicide. In 2006, 26% of homeless people were veterans. As we can see from all of these maps, the overall percentage of homeless veterans decreased between 2006 and 2018. However, there are still 1.4 million veterans at risk of homelessness in the United States. According to one cohort study, 44% of veterans experienced at least one day of homelessness. Drug use and PTSD were the strongest predictors for later homelessness. However, studies about incidents and causes of veteran homelessness remain scarce. (18 to 22 American veterans commit suicide daily. U.S. soldiers are 4 times as likely to die by suicide than in combat. In addition to mental health issues, substance abuse issues, and homelessness, factors such as access to firearms, moral injury, and medical advances also contribute to the high rate of suicide among veterans. Military veterans often have easier access to firearms. About 70% of veteran suicides involve a firearm. By contrast, firearms account for death in 48% of suicides in the general population. Using a firearm also increases the odds that a suicide attempt ends in death. Moral injury is damage to the soldier's sense of goodness and humanity as a result of what they had done or witnessed during service. The risk of moral injury in veterans is exacerbated by the culture of the military. The effects of moral injury can contribute to suicidal behaviors in veterans. Medical advances have allowed service members to redeploy after severe physical trauma. These compounding traumas contribute to worsening suicide rates as service members redeploy after sustaining severe injuries. Veterans' quality of life following severe physical trauma can put them at a greater risk of suicidal behaviors. This is a picture of a real suicide note from a military veteran named Anthony to his wife and kids. He suffered from severe PTSD. One day, he thought his wife and kids were trying to harm him, so he almost attacked them with a knife. After realizing what had happened, he later committed suicide because of the guilt and other mental issues that he suffered from. Anthony's experience is one of many among veterans in the United States. Veteran suicide is common in the United States, and there are many defined risk factors. Because we know the risk factors, it is possible to reduce the rate of suicide among veterans in the United States. Although the veteran population in the United States is slowly declining, there are still almost 19 million military veterans in the US. This is almost 10% of the entire US population. So, if you're a healthcare professional, it is likely that you will come in contact with a veteran at one point or another. There are actions that healthcare professionals can take to reduce health problems and improve healthcare, and quality of life in this population. In order to understand and address healthcare needs of this vast and growing population, incorporating veteran-specific content into curricula is of primary importance. Some recommendations for healthcare professionals working with veterans include being aware of patients' military history, being able to recognize suicide risk factors, and being able to address physical safety concerns, as well as emotional health of veterans. There are many organizations in place to provide support for veterans. The American Legion is an organization that provides assistance and guidance for veterans and their families around the world. Help comes in the form of personal assistance, cash grants, donated goods, disaster relief, labor, networking, volunteerism, and advocacy. The Homeless Veterans Fellowship, located in Ogden, Utah, is a nonprofit that provides a stabilized living environment and counseling services that will enable homeless veterans and veterans at risk of being homeless to return to self-sufficiency. Canines with a Cause, located in Salt Lake, uses dogs as therapy service for veterans. In conclusion, military veterans in the United States are a vulnerable population due to their higher risks of mental health and substance use disorders, homelessness, and suicide. Healthcare professionals can help to improve the quality of life of veterans in the U.S. Thank you for listening to and watching this presentation.